Hey everybody, welcome to Obscura Undead Subculture Shock with your hosts, Obscura Undead and Skullgirdle. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I am Michelle. I run the Skullgirdle channel and host the Subculture Shock for Obscura Undead. We use our pronouns here. My pronoun is she or her. I'm fine with they, but I prefer people get my name correct. Azy.
I'm Azy. I'm hosting this over on the Obscura Undead Twitch. Just to start off, my pronouns are they, them, and this is very relevant since we are hosting a stream today that is all about women DJs, or rather, non-male DJs in the goth subculture. I've only been a DJ for 4 years at this point. But that's my introduction. Sarah?
All right. Hello. I'm Scary Lady Sarah. I'm a DJ in Chicago. I go by the pronouns she and her. And I've been DJing professionally in nightclubs since 1988. And I did some college radio DJing before that.
You've been DJing as long as I've been alive. That's amazing.
I'm old.
I love that so much.
Andy?
Hi, I'm Andy. I go by Andy or Andy Harriman. It just depends what people put on the flyer, but my producer name is Andy, so I'll go with that. And I've been DJing for 7 years now, and my pronouns are she and her.
Okay, Maus?
I am Maus. I go by Maus. I am with Obscura Undead, also with Communion After Dark, and Radio Dark Italia. I do a lot of fun stuff. I have been DJing for 20 years. And it's really hard for me to admit that. My pronouns are she and her.
Yep, and already in the chat, Dreaming Noctis has mentioned that they are using Andy's book for their thesis. That would be this book.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
So beautiful.
And if you haven't read it, go check it out. And Andy's not the only person I have a prop for. Before we get started, I also have a prop for Sarah.
Oh.
And that is a flyer from a show that we did last year, which Sarah is right down here.
Yeah, and it's on my wall too. Wait, where is it? There.
Hey, cool.
I see Sarah's face every day.
Yes.
Yes. So we
one framed for our gallery here. Oh.
Yep. So we're very excited to have both of you and Maus, because I love Maus too, with us here tonight. Been very nervous about this all week. Been very excited.
Nervous
Why
and
nervous?
excited.
Nervous.
Why nervous?
Well, nervous because I followed what both of you do, and I followed what both of you have been doing for a really long time. Like Andy, your work as a music journalist has been very inspiring for me, and everything Sarah you've done in Chicago and worldwide, just building a really extremely positive community when you tend to find a lot of negativity in larger goth scenes, has been a big model for what we do with Obscura Undead as well. So you two have been huge inspirations for me.
Oh, thanks.
Nice to hear. Glad.
Don't be nervous though. No reason.
Right. Well, I'm actually with 4 of my favorite DJs, and I do watch a lot of DJs on Twitch. I go through the, well, once you start watching one for a while, you got a few days where you just watch everybody who comes up and everybody. And I have enjoyed all of y'all. I actually watched Maus's last stream yesterday, recorded.
Thank you.
I have no sound, just so anyone knows on my YouTube. Again, no sound. Everything I'm doing is not working. So if I'm looking away, that's what's happening. So yeah, actually, Sarah, you are my favorite all-time DJ. I find your work to be absolutely excellent. Your flow is amazing. And for a 4-hour show to go through what you go through when you're DJing by yourself. Now there are good male DJs out there. I could name a few of them, but that's not who we're talking about today. They can go get their accolades everywhere else. And yeah, Andy, I watched a lot of the music you play is the stuff that I don't have in my collection, but I love it when I hear it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, same with Maus. And Azy actually has a lot of my collection, so I like that too. But all of y'all are very different. I find it inspiring that I'm not looking at the same exact type of DJ over and over again with 4, I'll just say goth umbrella DJs, dark electric. I don't know what you guys call it. I don't know. Because I know, Andy, I've seen some of your shows, they vary. Sarah, I've seen your shoegaze show, so I watch all sorts of crap stuff. Azy is death rock, and Maus, dark electric. I know you do it all.
I say dark wave, dark electro, synth. It kind of covers everything because synth is like,
Everything.
I'll do cold wave, I'll do synth wave. I don't know. Everything electronic except for rap.
Very vehement against that, seems like.
I was like, no Billie Eilish at your show? Wait, she's not rap.
No, I love Billie Eilish.
I don't know what Billie Eilish does. I'm sorry, y'all. I just know her
I thought
hair.
Billie Eilish was mumble rap.
I don't know. She looks dirty. That's
She doesn't
all I can
rap.
think. She looks like she hasn't had a bath in a month. Yeah.
But there is a lot of variety with female DJs, and male DJs are great, but there isn't as much variety as non-male DJs.
Because there's fewer?
No, there's more male DJs, but they're just duplicates of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant there were more non-male than male. For me, I always get excited when I see a DJ who is not a standard, I'll just go all the way out there, white dude. I'm not saying they're not good, because a good DJ is a good DJ, y'all. And a good DJ comes in all sorts of different sizes, shapes, forms, whatever, gender, non-gender, I don't care.
Yep.
But yeah, it's, I'm trying to think of my own area. I think we have 2 woman identified DJs. I might be missing one, but of all the DJs we also have DJs that have been working for years and years and years. So breaking in as a new DJ is difficult, I think. So what has it been like for y'all with those early gigs?
For me, music has always been such a passion of mine, and I might have actually even said this on the interview we did with you before, Michelle, but 8th grade, so 1980, when we had to write a story about what you want to be when you grow up, I said a DJ, because I didn't think I had it into me to become a musician, which I proven that
turns
wrong.
out you were wrong about that one.
Proved that wrong in my 40s, but at the time, so I wanted to be a DJ since I was a kid, and I kind of pushed myself into doing it. Aside, really like forced myself in, because no one gave me a spot or gave me any chances. Mm-hmm. As a really young person was when I was 20, almost 21 when I started DJing in clubs, and I just always had kind of a no prisoners, take no BS kind of attitude. So even though it was absolutely dominated, in fact, the club that I started DJing at first, at the time, there was perhaps one other female DJ, but she wasn't even a regular at the venue. And the club was open 7 nights a week, and it was all other male DJs. But I kind of pushed myself in, and I was like, this is what I want to do. Too bad. Get out of the way. So
Well, it seems like it's working out for you.
yeah. Still have that attitude.
Well, that I think that's what you need.
Unfortunately, because maybe a male identifying DJ wouldn't need to have that. They could just kind of waltz in a little easier in some cases.
I don't. I'm the only one who's not a DJ, so I could only comment on the tech industry, and that's not helpful.
Right.
Well, I would say that I only DJ'd around guys when I started out because there weren't that many women at all, which is really a shame. And I learned how quickly, this is getting pretty shady pretty fast, but I learned how quickly that men's intentions with women DJs are pretty messed up, because I can't tell you how many, I don't know, I guess you would call them like teachers or maybe like mentors that really had bad intentions in booking me, in helping me. It was all very bad intentions, and it just gets really ugly, which is why, that was one of the reasons I started my own party, because I was just sick of, one, how divided the scenes were, because you had industrial night. Well, this is like New York, so it might not be the case for other smaller cities, but it was goth night, industrial night. Like nothing blended together. It was all very separated, and it was just all ran by men. So that's why I started Synthesize, because I hated those barriers, and I wanted it to be more inclusive, honestly. But I can't tell you how many friends I've lost because they wanted something more, they wanted something in return. It's just really been a pretty heartbreaking road, honestly, because you kind of trust these people, and they want something else that you never have like alluded to, but they still think, oh, because she's hanging out with me and she wants to learn from me, that she wants something more.
Right. They automatically assume that a woman's interest in them beyond, well, at all, if they're not related, is sexual.
Yes.
Or at least romantic.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't want to say how men are raised. I don't know that, but I think they're raised to think a woman smiles and it's open season. I'm older though. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and that was accepted at that time. It's disheartening to hear that it's still happening so frequently.
Yeah, I can only think of one person who helped me whose intentions were honest. And I want to give a shout out to Daryl Hell. He's an industrial DJ here in New York. He's the only one who never really tried anything, and I think he was just being an honest, good person. Otherwise, I can't say anything else for the other men.
Otherwise, ew.
I had some experiences like that when I was younger, starting out. Like the first 10 years DJing, you're building relationships with people, and you see yourself moving, and getting opportunities, and then you realize, oh, it's because this person wants something from me I'm not going to be able to give. And then when you shut that down, all of a sudden there's no more opportunities.
Exactly.
I did have to go through that. And I get it. Most of my best friends, my closest friends, are male DJs. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking about them specifically. They're still my friends because they're great people. But I have gone through a bunch of really bad experiences. And I get that there's this competitiveness with male DJs, and they feel protective of the scene that they've built, or that they think they've built, and they don't want anything to touch that. And so they see somebody new coming along, and especially for somebody like me, I can't figure out what the problem is. Is it because I'm a female? Is it because I'm Black? Is it because I'm younger than them? Is it because I'm a new DJ on the scene? There's so many things in the way that the only way I can get a gig is if I build my own party, same way Andy did.
Yeah.
So I did. I built my own party in every single city I landed in. And that's what people know me from, not from some gig that somebody gave me. And I don't ask for gigs anymore. I've stopped since like 10 years back. If you want to hire me and you like what I sound like, then you hire me. I'm not going to ask. And that's how I've built my world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also think once you build that world, you kind of don't need to, because you have your own thing going on, and people will come to you if they like what you have going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I leave it like that. And I coordinate with other DJs and collaborate and, bring them on as guests and, try to show them that I'm open to their styles. But I have a nice circle of DJ friends now, but it took a long time to get here. I never got anything back from anyone. They never brought me on board for anything. I never had any kind of guest gigs, except for like the last 4 years maybe.
See, the scene that I started out in, the main DJ in that scene was a woman, and she had a radio show, but that didn't necessarily mean to lead to creating opportunities for, other women, or at this point I didn't start identifying as non-binary, so, other women. But I did find that the male DJs in the scene were very willing to give me an opportunity to spin, but then, it kind of turned into, tighter and tighter hugs and like kissing on the cheek, just closer and closer and closer. And just it getting like really gross, and then you start turning people down. And for me, it wasn't the case that gigs dried up, because there weren't that many gigs to begin with, but it definitely sort of became a case of, well, that's just how they are, and it's a small scene, and you have to put up with that because there's not many of us here. And that was really unfortunate. But it always struck me as kind of weird that there are so few women as DJs in our scene, because we seem to have like really female-dominated spaces, just in terms of like most club nights. But it does seem like almost all of the events are organized by men despite that, and it is a really competitive atmosphere because it's all men competing in that atmosphere, and that like show climate, gig climate, at least in a lot of the scenes that I've been a participant in.
Maybe Chicago is different, and maybe it's a little different because I am older, but and going into the nightclub world, like I said, I kind of went in with this armor already, this emotional armor, and ready to just defend myself if necessary. I didn't go through as many of those kind of experiences. There's a few. I think anyone in Chicago knew me and knew my attitude towards things, so maybe didn't try as much to kind of pull one over on me. Other males, anything sexual or weird. When out of town, people on a couple occasions, and two specific places I can think of, quite a deal into my career too, hired me to DJ in their cities. And then it was like, oh yeah, and you can stay in my guest room. Wait, didn't we talk about a hotel? Oh, but the guest room is private, and you're like, things like that. And the two occasions I'm specifically thinking of didn't actually ask me back a second time. So, yeah, I think people knew what I was about, they knew that there's no chance, because I will shoot them down every time. And I'm pretty gruff. There's scary in my name for a reason. That's what I tell you. I'm sweet inside though, but anyway. It seems like again, I've DJed all over the world, but I think specifically here in Chicago, we do have quite a few female identifying DJs though. It's pretty balanced now. It definitely wasn't always like that, but at least in the last probably 15 years, I'd say 10 to 15 years. It's been a pretty good balance. So it's lucky. I don't know. It's just kind of something that maybe because the women who have been DJing have cultivated more of that female friendliness. Men who come off as competitive and stuff, they don't last that long. I've had a list of guys who all of a sudden they pop up and they're like, oh, I'm going to be the new big thing DJ in the scene. And they're basically an asshole to people. And then, oh, what happened to them? They moved away. So.
Yeah, I think men don't have to worry about certain things. I know when I go overseas to DJ, I have to have my guard up all the time. I know that because I go by myself. It's like you go to Croatia and you're playing a gig and some guy's like, I'm going to slip some acid in your beer. And you're like, oh, what? Like, I've had that happen to me before. And like, you just have to guard your drinks while you're DJing at the same time. You always have to be like, men don't have to worry about that. No other dude's going to drug some other guy DJ. It's like, you just always have to have your guard up and be ready for anything, you know. It's just an extra layer of something that women have to go through in order just to do something to enjoy.
So it's like going to any bar. Yeah. If you went to a bar by yourself, you'd have to make sure that your drink is never left alone.
Yeah.
The top is never open, and that you always have something to stab with.
It's kind of hard to do when you're traveling, though.
Well, keys in a parking lot. I'm talking keys in a parking lot, not knives. Just something pokey.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I do see the times that I've done, you know, like DJing at German festivals, for example, tends to be a little more male dominated still than the gigs I do over here in the US. Not sure why the difference is really, but I noticed that.
Are there more female identifying DJs overseas? Like, I know one in Italy.
Oh yeah, I think there's less. But there's a lot of teams I know, like the Geistervelds, and there's a bunch in London. God, I'm gonna forget.
Mouse, we know one in Norway.
Nice people's names, but you know, Francesca and Victoria, and you know, there's lots of British ones.
Oh, I know Victoria.
Yeah,
I know Victoria.
Yeah, Mouse. Also, we know Caroline.
We know Caroline. Yeah, but remember we were thinking about it the other day. We're like, how many are in Europe? 5?
Surely there are more.
I'm sure there's more, but it could be that they're just keeping to their small scenes and you don't hear about them.
It's kind of.
We should all be connected, though.
I think it's kind of
agreed.
Even more like obvious now just how many men there are because of all of the live streams, and the folks that tend to get the collaborations on these live streams I noticed they tend to be white men. And I know that with some of them they've definitely like in like hindsight talked about having more diversity and, you know, like more queer representation and representation of women and people of color on these streams, and from like not the UK, not Germany, not the United States, not Australia.
Have we started to see that representation? Because really, y'all, the live streams on Twitch, they're fantastic and I love them because they honestly make the viewer feel much less isolated. But they're so easy, maybe not to set up your first one, but they're so accessible to people, and it's easier. Although, Andy, you're spinning vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so is that a special piece of equipment? Like you have another thing in between your laptop and the...
Oh, I don't use a laptop.
Turntable?
At
all?
Mm-mm.
How are you streaming?
Oh, well, just to like stream, but it's not part of the DJ process. Yeah, I have a mixer, an interface.
But it runs through your laptop to stream, is what I mean.
Yeah, an interface, a mixer into the interface into the computer. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're one of, I think, I've seen one on somebody else on Dark Energy, and then DJ Jason, both white dudes, with the other vinyl that I've seen so far.
Yeah, there's not many women
But
who play vinyl. It's
yeah.
like collecting and that sort of DJ culture is very male dominated. There's very few women who collect. I don't know why. I wish there were more women. Every time I see an article about a woman who collects, I'm like, yes, there's more of us.
I collect. I'm just afraid of spinning on my vinyl. I'm such a klutz because I'm bouncing around all the time and moving around. Like I can't even like do the needle. I can't.
Because you're shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too at the beginning until I get into it. I'm like, ugh.
I spun vinyl one time. I was in a club in Fort Lauderdale and there was the whole DJ setup and I turned around and knocked over the table.
Oh no.
The whole rig just went.
Did you break the needle? Needles?
Everything broke. Not with the record though.
When I
But
started,
I won't do it again.
I can see why.
it was all vinyl when I started DJing for my club night Nocturna that I still do because CDs were just starting to be a thing. But now almost everything I get's on Bandcamp. So it's so much easier for me.
Well, Bandcamp is getting more vinyl though, so you could actually, you might be able to pull off a vinyl show with Bandcamp, but you got to get it while you get it.
Right.
You have to jump on it, so you wind up paying as
Very
much
close.
shipping as the vinyl for some
I remember I was one of the first DJs I could remember that switched over to digital DJing. And I did it because I was a woman traveling alone. When I would go from city to city, I'd have like all these CDs. And I mean, I did have a vinyl box when I first started, but then, you know, I moved on to all these CDs and I would lug everything everywhere by myself. And I didn't want to be like carrying everything and then sweaty and then all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm done with this. And I just hopped right over 100% to digital DJing.
That's
Well,
what I did.
do you think that non-male DJs are held to a different standard of how you look while you're working?
Absolutely.
And I have a great example in Dallas. We have one woman DJ Red Vamp. She's a good DJ. She's a good DJ. But you can tell she's very conscious of how she looks even on stream. I mean, I've seen her at Panopticon and, you know, now on streaming. And I wondered, she looks great. That's fine. That's cool. You look the way you want to look. If she wants to look exactly like she does, that's how she should look because it's her body, her life. But I wonder if it's because she's been around for a while and if the pressure is so heavy to always look good, or you get more gigs if you're corseted, or if you get more gigs if you look more extreme, or, you know, have all y'all experienced that?
I spent years where I was just tomboyish and I got more people approaching me and talking to me and giving me gigs when I looked like that.
Oh, really? Then now with your
and act like a boy. No, now I just do what I want to do and I clean myself up to get on stream. I love the streaming because there's no pressure. It's I build everything. I choose everything. I choose everything meticulously, and I really love that. But I found that the gigs that I was hired for are usually like fetish type gigs, fetish parties, and they just want to slap my face on a flyer, and that's how they're going to sell tickets. So they expect a look like that, and on numerous occasions they'll say, I'm going to put you on a flyer. Send me a picture of you completely dolled up or in a crazy costume. And I'm like, I don't have anything like that, you know, and it just ends up being like this impasse because they wanted this like rock star look for a flyer.
Do they do that to the dudes, to the men?
Well, they don't have to dress up or anything, but usually they don't put them on flyers. And maybe
another double standard.
I saw a flyer. I think it came out of New York, and it was male DJ, male DJ, male DJ, female dancer, female dancer, female dancer, female dancer.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
You know it? I saw it and I was just like,
yeah. They also do a lot of like cartoons of sexy women with like boobs this big and like wearing nothing.
Oh, we were looking at that. Was that the one we were looking at? I think so.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
Is it like that every time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just like their aesthetic is like the cartoon girl in like a little BDSM outfit or like latex
Right.
because it's like a latex party.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like just cartoon with huge boobs,
Right,
waist
right,
this big, you know.
Yeah, of course, a tiny corseted waist and helium breasts,
Yes.
probably gigantic lips, a lot of extended features, and just completely unrealistic. And if it was a logo, a cartoon logo they'd had for a long time, that would make sense to me. But the scene is whatever scene they're doing, having seen a lot of goth scenes, a few goth scenes, having seen several of the fetish scenes, that's not everybody that's there.
Yeah.
Personally, I want to see everybody represented. That just makes me happy when I see a
I agree.
normal person, you know, not in their pajamas at a dumpster. Okay, that would be good too, but just representative.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So have you guys ever, any of y'all, been asked to wear something lower cut for your job?
No one would
Has it
dare.
been that blatant? I know.
I used to wear lower cut things just because I liked it when I was, not in my 50s. But no, not for me anyway.
I usually cover myself up when I'm DJing.
Yeah, I tend to now because I used to like dress up more now, like a t-shirt and some whatever.
Right. So do you ever miss just getting, we call it getting cute. I say we, Obscure Undead calls it getting cute, including fancier clothes. Because sometimes fancier clothes, because I'm currently wearing something that's not that low cut. I have a thing about, it depends on the situation. I mean, I work in the tech world. So, and I wind up talking to people who are higher up. So if I look down and I can see a tiny shadow, that shirt never goes to work again. Never. Because there's nothing like sitting there in your cubicle talking to your boss and realizing they can see right down to your pants through your shirt because your shirt is gapping. So I would assume that it's the same when you're a DJ, although you're in a club and it's darker, that you don't want to feel, well, exposed.
Well, I guess sometimes when I've dressed in a way that had like some, mega cleavage happening or something, it can also be really empowering because if you
Right.
feel confident in yourself and then you exude that, and it doesn't necessarily, in my experience, mean somebody, a guy is going to approach me more.
But that's dressing for yourself. But that's doing it for yourself. When you do that for yourself, it is empowering to be, if you're just all trussed up and stuff, sometimes it makes you feel really strong. It does for me.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's interesting you bring that up because part of my club wear is just bra and fishnets and not wearing a shirt. And I just realized I've never done that when I've spun, only when I'm like normally hanging out at the club.
Right.
But I think that's more of a practicality thing because I don't like getting caught on things when I'm in the DJ booth.
Like I learned not to DJ wearing long drippy sleeves. Not practical.
Oh my God, I still do it. And then the wheel spin.
Yeah, it's like having a big headdress or something like that. It's going to get caught on something.
Yep.
Especially sometimes y'all are back there pretty active. You're like doing this and looking around.
Mm-hmm.
So do people ever follow you out to your car?
Yes.
Creepy car followers?
I don't have a
I
car.
don't know if they're creepy sometimes.
Bus stop?
What if the train?
The train. I'm in Dallas. We don't have proper, I can't get to my job in under 2.5 hours if I use public transit.
That's really bad.
Yeah, it's just under 30 miles.
I haven't had a car in years, but back when I did, and again, I guess I feel kind of like the odd female DJ out because I never had that experience of people following me to my car. I think they would probably think I would turn around and stab them if they did. So.
I actually see some questions in the chat if we want to field some of them.
Oh.
I think one of them is from...
Excuse me while I read.
And Azy, it's going to disconnect soon.
Oh, yeah, we're going to disconnect in less than 1 minute.
Okay.
So, folks, if we disappear, you'll still get my voice, my lovely, lovely, deep voice. And everyone will come back in a minute, but then we will field these 2 questions that we got. You know what? I'm just gonna kill it so we don't have to wait.
All right, I'm gonna get in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading the chat.
All right, so I'm still here. It is random voice time with Azy. I don't have a good radio voice. I'm just going to talk and say things like pineapple and sultry pizza. I don't know how pizza can be sultry, but talking and thinking and trying to do this at the same time is very distracting. Shit. But it's given everyone a chance to catch up on the messages. And honestly, thank you so many people for joining us tonight. Like, this has been a topic that we've wanted to talk about for a while, and it's been really cool to have, you know, like the women on here who, thanks, creepy cutie girl. The women on here who were kind enough to give us their evenings. All right, so just give me one moment. I have to pop into Facebook. Click, click, click. Oh shit, who was that? Okay. And click. Okay. Everyone should be arriving shortly. See waiting room. Admit, admit, admit.
Oh, right. Oh, so if y'all didn't notice, my YouTube just would never get sound for the desktop audio. So I killed it.
Oh.
And admit. Oh, that makes sense.
I fixed it 7 ways to Sunday. I'm just going to have to, I don't even know how I'm going to get that to work one day.
Azy, can you help me record?
Oh, yes. Let me pop into the participants menu again, click over into you, give you those lovely, lovely permissions, and then close out. Okay.
Wow, Bone Daddy, nice post. Okay, so there are 2 questions I saw. A question for Azy and for other non-binary DJs, if anyone's in the chat as well. Has your non-binary identity had an impact on how you're perceived in the DJ community?
My answer is, as far as I know, no, because people assume that I am a woman. I realize that is a side effect of having huge tits, but people just assume that I am a woman, and that has had no impact other than general confusion, but mostly acceptance. It hasn't, that I've ever seen, impacted my DJ experience.
Yeah, we don't have any that I know of non-binary in my area. Does anyone know any non-binary DJs who present, what do you call it?
I know.
Asexual, not asexual, that's a sexuality. You know what I mean? They present as people can't figure out. When somebody will walk up and go, "What are you?" Thank you, androgynous. Jeez,
well, of course we know Malik. And
right.
I can't speak for them, but we've joked sometimes that our over-the-top aesthetic has gotten us gigs, so I don't think that's related to being non-binary, though.
Over-the-top aesthetics.
Yeah, mostly our hair.
I should try that.
Yes, just have big hair.
Yeah, well,
get the gigs.
Yeah, you can see at some clubs that the DJs will have a look. Those have a look, and you're like, huh, it seems like you have to have a look. And a lot of times you go and the people go there have a look. I didn't notice it.
The DJs don't have a look. They don't do a show, and I'm fine with that. It's supposed to be about music, not about the show.
I disagree with that in a sense of that my aesthetic is important to my creative expression as a DJ because it all feeds into it, you know?
And that's perfectly fair.
Yeah.
I think it's just different for people.
It's like the difference kind of if you're going to a club, you are going to hear the music, but you're not going just to hear the music. You're going for the whole experience, which is visual as well. So whether someone, a DJ, chooses to, have, really expressive personal style or not can add to someone's enjoyment of the night. Because to me, you know, I'm a DJ, but I'm a performer. I'm putting on a show, not just playing music. It's part of the experience. Otherwise, people could sit home and listen to, you know, Spotify playlists. Yeah, exactly. And now with
That's true, actually. Yeah, I was just saying, some of what you do I find hilarious as you're holding up your little paper in front, because someone's like, does she not know how to do that? I was like, dude, she's got emojis over there. They're showing people's chat stuff. Yes, this is a show. This is on purpose, which I personally appreciate.
Thanks. I try with the Twitches to recreate as close as possible what my clubs are like. And for example, like Nocturna, is, you know, my biggest club night. I talk to people all night long. People come up onto the stage to say hi or to request things. I get on the mic periodically, not enough that it's annoying, hopefully, but periodically through the night and say things and try and engage people and keep it, you know, the music is dark, but I try and keep it a friendly atmosphere too. So I'm trying to recreate that online, which is tricky and interesting, and that's where the signs have come from.
I think it's cute. I like it when DJs just do different stuff. I've watched Andy struggle with the album covers when the one won't go up, because you always put your album cover right in front of the sign. And there was one you're like, what? Whoops.
No fall, yeah.
Yeah, but it makes it more realistic, and it actually, what it does is it brings your audience in as part of the show. Mouse?
Absolutely.
I don't even know what you were showing. You show crazy stuff in there, and then you're dancing. What do you think? I was not talking to you?
I thought you were just talking to everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, right. All of you guys move around, dance. You're more interesting than just watching like a playlist.
Oh yeah, I dance.
You're right. Yeah, I know, it's hilarious.
I'm gonna show off my cat.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of pets on streams, more than usual.
Oh yeah.
Which is always funny because they're always trying to get in on the show anyway. As a person who has a YouTube channel, I've always got some dog until tonight. Nobody's in
DJ
here.
Cyberpagan was talking today about a goth DJs and their cats calendar that they're looking into making, which is
Oh
great.
my goodness,
That'd be cute.
that's
We may
great.
not be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goth. Okay, so I'm going to read this whole long ass quote, y'all. I'm into it, and it makes me think of the lecture that Andy and Vero Mota did together at Vegate. I was looking forward to this year, so Anyway, borrowing from the business realm, has anyone considered having a group of women crafting a code of conduct, like kind of worldwide? If something was put out there publicly and people in the industry, women and men and non-binary and everybody in between, started signing their names to it publicly, that they would agree to it as a form of acknowledgement and endorsement, could it potentially have some form of grassroots impact? Could it be something that is part of the contractual gig?
But for the women to sign?
Or I think they're saying like a sort of community
Like
pledge
DJs.
that you will not, like DJs will not
DJ and
tolerate
club.
like X things in their spaces.
Yeah, I think it's for everyone. I think it's for everyone involved. When you have a gig, it would be between you and the club. Other DJs would be kind of in, I don't know, kind of like a Screen Actors Guild type thing. It would almost be like a union or a guild or something like that.
I mean, personally, as a promoter, I think it's the promoter's job to ensure everyone's safety. I think that's something you have to take on when you start booking shows. And you have to kind of lay out those guidelines. If it's in your Facebook event or on your flyer, you should really just say you don't tolerate certain things. And I think that way your crowd will be more inclusive. And I think just doing that as a promoter and just putting it all out there and saying you're not going to deal with any misogyny, any sexism, I think putting it out there from the beginning, that's their responsibility. I do like the idea of some sort of group thing where you just don't, you have these rules and maybe it's copy paste on everyone's event or flyer. But honestly, I think it's just kind of an individual sort of thing. I mean, you can pledge that, but are you going to follow through if there's somebody that's, touched on the dance floor? It's up to you to come up to that person and get the bouncer and kick them out. It's not like anyone else's responsibility, honestly, because those people come for your party and you're supposed to uphold these, rules, even if they're silent. But you should always look out for the marginalized people, because I think that's just a responsibility you have to have these days. And if you don't, I don't think that people can trust you. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
I
And then,
agree with that.
right. And then those clubs or promoters or even DJs will, they'll see that reflected in their numbers dropping. I think if they don't adhere to just those common decency things, more and more of the venues that I've been to, whether I've DJed at them or just gone, I've seen like a code of conduct or rules posted at the door, which is, I think, like a good idea. Just when you come in, no matter what event is going on there, you see, all right, this, and this. But you have, yeah, like Andy just said, it's definitely up to the promoter or the club, the venue itself, to then follow up if there is a breach of that. There is a members only, I'd say, Goth adjacent club night from LA. They had a stint in Chicago for 8 months, and I DJ'd the last one of the 8 months they did. It was different. It was interesting and cool, but their whole code of conduct was supposed to be, this is a safe space for everyone. I mean, that was what they based their entire premise of this nightclub on. And the one in LA just blew up. I'm not going to gossip as much to say which one, but it's easy to find online. It turns out that the men, the white cis straight men who run this club, who are the ones saying, no, this is safe space, and anytime that anything happens, let us know and we'll take care of it, basically did nothing of what they purported to be all about. And so they're gone. Ended, I don't know about their entire careers, but this long-standing, kind of interesting concept place that had a lot of very, very loyal regular attendees is gone, because women who experienced the opposite finally spoke up.
Oh, good.
And it exploded. Yeah.
It has to be a safe place to speak up. It's one thing to say this is a safe place, but you have to speak up, and you have to be, as a person running the event, as the person throwing the party, etc., you have to be willing, if you're going to say, speak up, you have to understand, you have to be willing to take some risks, because if somebody is someone with power in your area and they're what I like to call being a jackass by grab handing or being a sexual predator or just being just shitty, just constantly misgendering, constantly condescending to those who are not white men or don't fit their mold, standing up to people like that, I think they get away with it for longer because they hold so much power. I mean, they hold your career in their hand. And I think that is where we frequently fail. I don't know how many of you guys have run into that, but yeah, I've actually not reported sexual harassment to HR because I was blown off by my manager about it. So when that happens, and if somebody's trying to report sexual harassment and they're blown off by, let's say, the DJ or the person helping with the event, then it's not going to get to the club owner. You know what I mean? So what advice do you have when somebody's dealing with some form of abuse and it is somebody who is well recognized in the scene? And I'm actually saying this because I have heard stories of people who we'll just go with well recognized, you could say famous, who are sexual predators and just bullshit artists in general and getting away with it.
I would say zero tolerance policy. You do it once, you're out. I will tell other promoters. And, I had something similar happen with this woman who came forward about this guy in a band. So I told a bunch of other promoters who had booked this band or were booking this band, and they just continued to book him regardless.
Mm.
And I found that as betrayal to this person that confided in me. And then the guy in the band threatened to sue me because of slander. It's just, somebody has to stand up for these people, and I feel like it's my responsibility for the community as a part of, the goth or industrial community to do it, because obviously people do this stuff all the time, and people still book the bands, and
Yeah,
I just think that's disgusting. I mean, somebody's always going to book that band, and I got
That's
them
true.
kicked off about 3 bills, but then, a couple months later they rebooked them, which I think is disgusting. It just makes me so mad.
I'd like to know who you're talking about.
Well, what if it's somebody and do you talk to that person first? The perpetrator I mean, I hate that word because the police regime uses it. But have you ever felt like there was a situation where they just didn't really get it? I personally feel by the time you're 18, you should be able to figure some of this stuff out. But
Yeah.
some people are literally not raised right.
That's what a bouncer's for, so you don't have to talk.
Oh, or me. I'll just walk up and act like I'm best friends with the person who's getting groped.
Well, do you guys find that, just generally speaking, I mean, I'm pretty sure that at this point we can safely say that for all of the events that we throw, that they are positive and inclusive and no tolerance for like bullshit like that. But has your experience been that other events and nights run by, using the word maybe marginalized, so like women promoters and DJs and the like, are more inclusive or tend to be less tolerant in general?
Honestly, no, because how I've seen it, I feel like I've found people that I can trust, but there are many who I feel like have their guard up because they're like, oh, I've dealt with these men for so long, why don't you deal with it? Like, I'm tough, I've dealt through all this misogyny
like, I've
and
paid
stuff.
my dues, you need to pay yours.
Yeah, so
Okay, so let's perpetuate the problem. That's cool.
exactly.
That sucks.
Well, someone did ask earlier what our impression was on general cattiness among women DJs. This is not something that I have experienced.
You would need more than 2 of them in a room together.
That's not
We
true.
need more of them.
I've been in a room with more than 2 women DJs. I've been in the room with you and Neva, who's in the chat, who is a wonderful woman DJ from Tampa here, who spins at the Castle and is amazing.
I'm not real fancy with the word catty because that reduces a woman to a vagina because that's what they're comparing it to.
Yeah, I'm not
But
too much
I
of
get
a
what
fan
you're
of that word
saying.
as well.
Sniping at each other.
Right. Well, the word in the chat was catty, and I agree
Or
that that's
cutthroat.
not my favorite term as well.
Yeah.
I've had more cattiness from male DJs than female.
Yeah. Absolutely.
More competitiveness, I should say. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, but I also think that, I think also it's that sort of thing, like, I've been through all this stuff, I don't really want to share my space, but also I think it's important as you grow as a DJ to take other women or marginalized people under your wing and book them and try to nurture their career as well. And I think that kind of makes a really good foundation for healthy DJ relationships.
Mm-hmm. And we just had a comment from DJ Slave One, who is another amazing woman DJ who streams here on Twitch, who says that she has a lot of things to say as well. I think that this is something that a lot of women experience and just tend not to talk about in the scene so much. And I really do think it's because a lot of times when you do start talking about it, you get shut down as like, oh, that's just how they are, or again, like, you have to pay your dues, or well, if you can't handle it, get out of the industry.
It's not a thing about handling it. It's about just being sick and tired of the way things have always been.
Right.
And don't shake it up because that's the way it's always been. And it makes me so mad. You know, I'm just tired of the old guard telling people what music to play, how to play it, when to play it, you know.
The old guard.
The old guard. Right. This is how we've always done it, and this is how we'll always do it. And you just sit down, shut up, and take your gropes like a big girl.
I was once told after I got done DJing a gig here in Florida. This is, I think, the second to last or third to last gig that I had before COVID shut everything down. But I was flat out told that I only get gigs because I'm a woman. I'm like, oh, fine, go on.
Oh.
And they're just like, yeah, women have it so much easier for getting gigs over men because they're a novelty and people just want to come see the novelty spinning and, you know, like, look at a pretty girl. And I'm like, go on.
That's actually what they hire the go-go dancers for.
Yeah, but he was insisting this and telling me that, you know, like, it's unfair to men who are DJing to lose gigs for the sake of a novelty.
Wow.
Wow. Wait, there's so many levels of diminutizing your efforts there that it's hard to unpack this whole box in one show.
I had somebody tell me people only like you because you have tits.
What?
Word.
Wow.
Word for word.
Did you smack them?
A DJ.
You smacked them, right?
I was kind of in shock, like, did that just happen? I must not have heard that right. But yeah, he's gone. Nowhere to be found.
That is, wow.
But wow. I feel like every woman has had that spoken to them.
Yeah.
I have not, thankfully. I've had many a male try to mansplain how to DJ technically to me.
Oh, that was one of my questions. That was a topic I wanted to get onto.
Mansplaining.
Oh boy, yeah. But I've not had that comment. Thank goodness. Again, maybe more thankfully for whoever would have said it. But yeah, it's more the like, oh, can I just turn?
Don't touch.
Oh yeah, no, I've had someone come up and like actually start like turning my dials. Like I turn, and they start messing with my dials, and I turn around and I catch them like pulling their hand away. I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? Oh well, the highs were too high. Excuse you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's still a few mansplainers around.
It's disgusting.
There's you know, kind of like you got that gig, and in the not DJ world, women have to bust ass, and non-binary twice as much as women, but you have to, I say non-binary, just indeterminate gender, we'll go with that. You have to bust ass. You're constantly having things mansplained to you. You're having men chosen over you by other people who are also not men and or white men. It's shocking to me sometimes that people will come up with this stuff. You got this job because you have tits. That's nice.
It's like, how about I got this job because I'm a good DJ?
Right. I've heard about the supposed just DJs for looks, women DJs, because they're usually talking about women DJs for looks. And I have yet to see a woman DJ that wasn't as good as whatever male DJ was playing that night. I've not seen these shitty women DJs who are there just for looks.
I have seen those.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I was at a gig where the guest, I was not the guest, even though I was the guest. There was another guest I was spinning with, and she was a porn star DJ.
But she had notoriety in the pornography world?
Mm-hmm. And
okay, so that was hiring somebody without talent for another name.
I checked it out to see if there was any skill.
Mm-hmm.
The songs were fun, but it was all like preset, and she pressed a couple of buttons and then giggled and posed.
Is this the DJ you had to set up for?
For show. So I was like, oh, what?
Is this the DJ that you had to set up for?
Someone set her up, yes.
Oh, okay.
And she performed on my equipment.
Yeah, my number one thing I tell other, like my piece of advice to women is like know how to put your stuff together just so men, you don't even let them in your space. Be like, I know how to do this. I like watch YouTube videos, do whatever you have to know how
Practice
to
at
do
home.
it just so no man explain and like
Exactly.
get
You need to
yeah.
be 100% in control of your world, and when you bring it, you are actually bringing it to your gig. You need to be on time every time. You need to be perfect. You need to give 100,000% above somebody else just to be considered level.
Right, I agree with you. And I think like women have to, men don't really have to focus on that. I would say once I had this guy DJ who was a promoter and I was DJing for him and he just like came up to me after my set and was like, "Those are my songs." And I was like,
No.
Sorry.
excuse me, like you booked me probably because we have a similar taste in music. And you know, like that was when I was starting out early, and from that point I realized that I have to like dig and I have to be ahead of them, and I have
You
to,
have to be ahead.
yeah, you have to work extra hard. Like you just can't play those classics because that's their song. And also if you want to play that, fuck them, because nobody owns the music. But this is what I'm talking about with the old guard that thinks, you know, they've been playing this music for 30 years now, and someone young or not a man comes on and, you know, playing this music. They feel, I don't know, they feel protective over music that everybody's supposed to be able to enjoy.
And there are a lot of male DJs who are finally catching up. They're picking up what people are saying they want to hear. You know, they're checking out all the new music, all the new wave of music. But it was a long time coming. Like they were stuck.
Yeah.
I used to spin with a guy who any of my songs that I would, you know, dig every single week to find that were particularly great, he would then take them for his middle of the night like prime time set.
That's so annoying.
Oh my God.
You should like hide the track title or something. Rename them to be.
We got stuck.
Rename
That's how
them.
that whole scene got stuck in the first place. Is people like hiding the tracks.
See,
But
So
yeah,
now-
if it's a DJ, I don't know. A dude DJ.
That's going to be a long argument.
that would be a very long argument. We have words on this mouse.
But I had a DJ once that I normally had a venue that I would spin at all the time, and I made these compilation CDs that I gave out to the people who would go dance. So there were only about 10 of these compilation CDs. And this friend lent my compilation CD to this other DJ, and the DJ invited me to come spin a night, and he played all of my tracks from top to bottom. These were tracks that, like my deep cuts, you know, that he had heard me play on my night and then got the compilation that I had made and played all of that stuff in my presence.
At your show.
I'm like, I'm the only person who plays this. What the?
At your show, though. Even worse, at your show. Yeah,
yeah.
I was going to ask if you guys get ripped off. And honestly, I've just figured out from what Andy said why I like you all so much. It's because you have to work harder. You have to go for some of those songs that aren't just like playing Marianne or Alice or This Corrosion.
242.
Right. You gotta kind of dig in there a little bit. And I was like, that's why the shows are so interesting. Okay, next.
I've had the same exact thing happen that Maus just said, where I for like 25 years I started as cassettes, but now it turned into CDs. Now it's online. I'm giving out. I run the Chicago Gothic meetup group too, so I always give everyone who comes to the meetup a compilation of new music. If it'll spread, they'll hear it, and then when I play it in the club, they'll dance to it. And I've had that happen in the past too, where a male DJ played everything in it, but it's kind of goes full circle or reverse back to what Andy said too, that nobody owns the music. It's for everybody to play. So it was flattering in a way, because I knew that I'm the one who kind of spread that music to this particular group of people, and then in turn it gets spread. So it's better for the musician, it's better for the artist, the more people that hear it.
Right.
So then I just find more new stuff for the next month.
That's how I feel too. I used to be like, oh, I'm not going to tell you what I'm playing. But then I quickly abandoned that, like, after I started DJing, because it's like, this is the whole point is to, you know, like, I like this music, let me share this music with you.
Right.
And if you're not telling anyone what you're listening to, then you're just really DJing to stand there for however long, you know, your gig is.
Yeah. I started posting my playlists on alt gothic back when, way before social media, you know, just to try and, you know, I got tired. I still play some of the classics, of course, because, you know, in a 1,100 capacity venue, you got to keep people dancing sometimes. So, but I could easily go the rest of my life without playing or hearing another Sisters of Mercy song. I would rather eat glass than play another one. But sometimes you gotta, and that's okay.
Wow, can we put that on a shirt?
So that's
I would rather eat
that's
glass
not what
than
you
play another Sisters of Mercy song.
Yeah, write it down. Let's do it.
And that's not what you play while you're taking a bubble bath, I take it.
How do you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. Like, I feel like if DJs use your music, they're not going to play it in the exact same way that you did, because every DJ has their own style.
Yeah.
I just think, like, if a guy's over your shoulder looking at every track, I don't like that.
That's when your elbow comes out.
Yeah, that's just rude.
Yeah.
But like, if DJ takes a track, they're gonna mix it their own way. It's not ever gonna be the same, you know.
Hopefully.
I don't know, because we all have different styles technically of DJing, aside from, you know, maybe genres that we do and whatnot, but I don't beat match. I don't. Most of the music I play, not all, but most of it is really guitar oriented. So for me, I have more of an affinity to play it, you know, just have the songs one after the other rather than blended as much. But I have had so much shit from men, only men, never a woman, about that I'm not really a DJ.
Because
you know, etc. I've gotten emails. I went to school to learn how to DJ, and what you're doing is you are not a DJ. Like,
I've
oh,
gotten
that's
that
so
as well.
nice of you that you went to school to be a DJ. Meanwhile, this has been my career for 32 years, but okay.
Wow.
Yeah, but your flow is still really good. So I don't.
and the flow.
Do you have to cross those tracks to be a DJ, even if your flow is good, even
Apparently
if your
some
show
men
is really
think
good? They just want to feel
They're just jealous because you're successful and they have book learning.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm always like, yeah, okay.
How do you guys feel
Wow,
about the
yeah.
term DJing? Because I hate it.
DJing.
Well, that's
I never heard
What?
it before.
That's because of the way the German language is. Whenever I've DJ'd at, well, you know, I usually either DJ or play Wave Gothic Treffen every year, and I have told them something else, please don't put DJing. I know it's the German language and everything is, you know, gender specific, but I think it, from an English language point of view, it's so, like, it's the diminutive. I hate it.
I just did an event where I had to tell them to take it off.
Yeah, DJing.
And it's, you know, I get it. It's the German language, because there's genders for everything, but maybe they'll catch up. Even though the language is, there's genders for everything, maybe.
I mean,
don't know.
Spanish has non-binary words. German can catch up too.
Oh, by the way, there is a website that lists the top DJs of the world,
Am I on it?
and you know, the top 10 are all like
Dudes.
big bosomed blondes,
What?
because you know they have the best talents.
Goth DJs?
No,
Oh, just generally. Okay.
general
Yeah,
DJs.
good DJs and have big bosoms.
I'll see if I can find the
Yeah.
website. It's
You can be drop dead gorgeous, very intelligent, and also entertaining.
you should be
it can
able to.
happen.
You should be able to do that. But there's
Right.
the mentality that if you're cute, you have no intelligence or talent.
Right.
Some of the house DJs in Chicago that are amazing are drop dead gorgeous women. You know, we've got Colette and Dehota, and yeah, they're Heather, outstanding, and like their mixing skills are insane. I look at them and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do it, but I can't. Yeah, and they're beautiful. So,
Right. Well, I think that a lot of times, because I mean, it takes a long time to elicit true change. It really does. And because we have such a long, I don't know, millennia of women being based or judged based on their ability to puke out some kids and cook some stuff up and look absolutely beautiful, and the beautiful being the number one most important thing. I feel like sometimes that if a woman is very attractive, that the objectification is not so much gropey, but more like they're dumb. Like they can't do it, they're incapable, they're dumb, they're lazy and selfish.
And that's when you prove them wrong.
yeah.
Right, right.
Also, I think something that happens a lot here in New York, well, only with certain promoters who are men, they like to do all female. I hate that word, calling men calling women females, but all female lineup. It's one special night of all women, and it
Get it over
drives
with at
me
one
crazy.
time.
I'm like, just always book a woman. Always, just do it. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, it's like
always
it gets advertised
Just
like
book
it's
a
a
variety.
spectacle.
Yeah, it's like super tokenizing and like
Yeah, that's dehumanizing.
I mean, I think it's great that like Mouse and I have a friend on the other side of the state who does that exact sort of thing, but it's not to be just like come in and look at the ladies. It's always because they recognize that there's underrepresentation, and they try to build it that way. But on the surface, it is a level of like you said, tokenization that doesn't feel good.
It depends on the marketing too, because like I've been invited to gigs where, you know, they slap that sexy woman on the flyer, and I'm like, who is that? Like, I can't have a flyer with this on it, you know, and be a female DJ. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that, and they don't.
They just get a
understand.
random photo of some model,
Yeah, there's
Google
like a
image.
format for generic cookie cutter club flyers that you can Google, and they give you like the girl. You know,
hand drawn ones that are
flyer.
like half scrawled. Yeah, I wondered about that because you know, just in some goth Facebook groups, it's a constant barrage of TNA, and we're talking seams that go so far up someone's ass they might as well be naked, and there's just people just post this shit all the time, and I was like, this doesn't say goth TNA group, this says goth group, and it actually talks about music, and then it winds up being, and then I leave the group. So it's just, I get sick and tired of seeing partially or completely undressed women on album covers. I have no problem with people being nude, naked. I call it naked because it's funny to me. I don't know why, but being unclothed. I have no problem with the human body as it is with nothing adorning it. That's not the problem. I just want to see everyone represented in the percentages that they're represented in the world, in the population, and also stuff that's more creative rather than just putting some woman who looks like she's in the middle of some fake porn orgasm on the front of your album cover and then sing about lost love and call it art.
Yeah.
You see that a lot in goth-ish circles?
Well,
I have.
Yeah,
industrial.
Almost half. Well, I look at a lot of I know all y'all do too because it's your job, but I look at actually recently in the last few months it hasn't been as bad. But one time I'm going to look at goth albums, it was probably Bandcamp, it could have been not Spotify, Google, wherever I'm finding them, because like I'll follow a thread and I'll start looking stuff up everywhere. And I was like, okay, so I've got some weird grainy nothing happening, something that looks like an airbrushed castle or TNA. And it was like
Is it
airbrush
Is it
castle.
I love that.
1996?
I will
You know,
absolutely listen to that.
Okay, I bought that one, but I forget what the name of the band was. But yeah, there are certain times when you go something and you're just like, really? But when you're looking at Bandcamp, if you look under goth, gothic, all that kind of stuff, you're getting a whole bunch of stuff because people use that tag to get more views. So you're not really looking at goth stuff, and you have to listen to a bunch of shitty music to find your stuff anyway.
Sure.
I mean, any site that big where people can upload their own stuff, not all going to be good. But yeah, I just want to see a little bit more creativity and I don't know, Picasso style disembodied boobs for once. I don't know.
Yeah.
rather than corset lady or ethereal airbrush vampire lady.
I'd like to think that was just a style that we saw in the 90s.
But we never grew
like the
past
typo
it.
negative cover. And
Yeah, there's that.
But as time goes on, the art is supposed to change. But a lot of people, they don't get exposure to that, and they're still making like Tumblr 1997 looking flyers. But that'll age out, and hopefully people will figure out that things are updated now.
You say that'll age out, but it's been 23 years and it hasn't.
That's because they're still there.
Oh.
That's because those people aren't just
That's
staying
right.
home.
It's the old guard. You're right.
Yeah, and I don't want to make
right.
this sound like it's older people, and forgive me, Sarah. It's not like an ageist thing. It's there are older people who just don't they can't be progressive. And that's
It's like a good old boy network. It's like a good old boy network. And
Well, yeah,
actually,
it's all
that's-
men.
Yeah, it's rather fitting. I would say good old boy network.
it's not bad
I'm
to
just
have
laughing.
these
I'm old
mentalities,
too.
but if you added a little diversity in your circle, you
Yeah,
would
yeah,
realize
yeah.
that it's a little out of place. But all they
Well,
have is their look-alike best friends, and so it's that echo chamber again, and they never realize
Yeah,
that anything's
yeah.
wrong.
But I find that diversity, just in most situations, makes a richer culture overall.
Right. We might get cut
And-
off again. Just fair warning. We have less than a minute.
Oh yeah. And when you're playing stuff, yes, people like to hear some of those older songs, but when you put a diverse group of people in, they're going to play different stuff, and your audience will get.
Hey, please stay with us. I need to restart the Zoom call. So until then, you have my disembodied voice. If anyone wants to, you know what? I'm going to play a track by Andy while I get everyone back in.
He told me that he owned me.
I'm very stunted with emojis. By the time like I'm chatting with someone, they're like, gotta go, okay, and then they put like 5 kisses and a bunch of hugs. And by the time I figure out which emoji to use, they're way gone.
I'm the same.
All right, well, we're back.
Oh, we are back. I have no idea what I was saying, and it doesn't matter.
So that track which Mouse suggested that I cut to is one of Andy's new tracks. Is it Vanitas?
Vanitas, yeah.
Vanitas. It is the
just
Silent
released.
Servant remix.
Yeah.
Just released.
Just released.
Extra moody remix.
Yeah.
Moody-tronica?
Yeah.
Moodicide?
Mouse, can you do me a favor and drop a link to that in the chat?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do that.
There we go.
All right, and I'm glad
Yeah,
you all
and
got
that's
to enjoy
how
the
it should be instead of being cutthroat. It's like, oh, look what this person did. Maybe you want to listen to this. Oh, look what this person did.
You mean
I'm all like, the more the
supportive?
merrier.
Yeah, being supportive.
Don't tell, it's a secret. Yeah, okay, let's go back to you guys were talking about mansplaining. What's your worst mansplain or your most hilarious mansplaining story from a gig? Oh, Mouse, that looked hilarious.
I'm trying not to name names. It's so hard. I have a DJ who pretends to be my friend and will try to hook stuff up for me and purposefully do it wrong so that there's mess ups.
Is this the same one who has unplugged you while
Yes.
you've been spinning?
Yes.
Whoa.
Like, oh, the dance floor looks good. Let me just walk back here real quick to get my stuff. Oops, like totally Mr. Magoo and like unplugs everything on purpose.
That is
I'm telling you.
fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
That is
So
fucked
rude.
up.
Oh yeah.
That ain't mansplaining, that's sabotage.
That's the closest
Hachi.
I've got.
Wow.
Wow.
Ugh.
Wow.
That's so not cool, to put it mildly.
Yeah, that doesn't just fuck you over, that fucks over the whole club.
That's true.
Yeah, but it was to make me look bad and
Yeah, of course.
irritate me a little bit.
I don't buy into that shit. I do not buy into that. I don't care who it is or what you're doing. Doing stuff intentionally to make someone look bad, that's bullshit. They'll make themselves look bad if they've screwed you over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm irritated. Next.
My most contentious encounter I had with a male. It was a sound engineer at a venue that's long gone now, sadly, but it was a really cool venue. And I showed up to DJ for a show. It was where I was the opening DJ for an hour and then doing music in between the bands and at the end of the night. And as I always do, I walked in and I went to find the sound engineer to let them know I was there so that once I had hooked up my part, which I know very well how to do, they would know so they could test my audio. I found the engineer. It was someone I'd not worked with before at this venue. And he was definitely, there's a certain ilk of, I guess I have to preface it, not all, but older white male sound engineers from clubs that are very cantankerous and absolutely sexist. And I just walked up and I said, hi, I'm the DJ for tonight. And whenever you're ready to sound check me, let me know. I'm all set up. And he just turned and like, did I ask who you were? And it just, I'm like, oh
my God.
Blew me away. I was so shocked at the absolute abject rudeness of this person who's a colleague. I did tattle. I went and I told the club owner, because I'd worked there many times before. He said he would talk to him. I don't know if he did. Pretty much put a sour mood on me the rest of the night, unfortunately. He didn't mess with me.
The same guy.
The problem was about a year later, our band was playing at a different venue. Lo and behold, who's the sound engineer? And our sound check went really well. Levels were good. We were happy. Went smoothly. And then when it was time for us to play, I had no guitar for half the set. So I'm playing guitar, but nobody could hear it. He messed with my vocal mic. Yeah, that was the worst case of, not exactly mansplaining, but feeling threatened by a female musician / DJ that I've had. It was, to my knowledge, he still is working. I mean, once venues are reopened again, too. One of that little group that are like, they'll be doing it until they keel over from whatever, in a club one day. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard about sound engineers like sabotaging women. I know of 2 cases of that, just like turning the sound down or maybe
Volume is always down.
Yeah, and just because of petty things, they didn't get something they wanted, or just because they're a woman. The one that I can think of is I was in Russia playing, and it was like on my last song, maybe mixing into my last song, and this like Russian guy that doesn't speak any English just like pushes me away and finishes mixing into the next song.
oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I look at the promoter, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was really pissed. And I said, I just walked away. I was like, nah. Oh, I just thought of another one. This happened last year. I was DJing. I was supposed to DJ like back to back with this guy. So, he seemed fine at the beginning. I was on CDJs and he was on a laptop, and we were fine at the beginning, but all of a sudden he got really trashed. So first of all, he played like a really, what song was it? I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, he started like playing over top of my tracks.
Oh God.
He would put up his sound over top of my music before it even ended. He was just like so trash, like didn't even know what he was doing. And I just that's the second time I walked away, and I wasn't even like at the end of my set. I was just like, fuck this, because this guy showed zero respect to me. And I went in the bathroom and I was like sobbing just because I felt so disrespected, and like none of the promoters were around to help me. I was like, you guys must hear this. Oh, it was a shitty version of Cry Little Sister. He played that twice.
Oh God.
He played like,
Is it the Marilyn Manson version?
I don't know. It sounded electro. It might have been.
Because
he played it twice. And I was like, okay. And then he just like started like playing over top of my Clan of Zymox song or something. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I just walked off. I was like, this is just.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. Honestly, I was just bawling for a while, but I didn't let him see that. I just told them to let him know that I don't want an apology from him. I don't want anything from him. I don't ever want to see that guy again. He's dead to me.
Yeah, I know Maus and I have gigged a lot of shows together, and it's always usually issues with like the sound guys. They won't give you time to set up your gear. They get upset when you ask them, "Hey, can I set up?" They mess with things afterwards. They don't put out the damn floor amps like on purpose.
Yeah.
Like they face them in the wrong direction. Like it feels like deliberate sabotage, and this isn't like the
That's
same
exactly
person.
what
This
it
is
is. It's
across venues.
Mm-hmm.
What?
And because they don't want to communicate with you, you come in and everything is a mess.
And then
everything
you tell
is
them
just
how it needs
absolute
to
shit.
be, and they get pissed and they leave.
And you think it's the venue that's normally like that, but then you talk to a male DJ and you find out that that is not
They had
normal
such a
for them.
smooth experience. It was so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is some bullshit.
Yeah,
I
that's
had a
gross.
problem with a guy in Orlando, and Azy, you might remember that. And
Yeah, I do.
And every time he wanted something, I was a guest, and there was a male DJ who's a great friend that I was spinning with, and every time the sound engineer wanted like the sound turned down or something, he would communicate it to the male DJ, just as long as he didn't have to look at me.
Well,
And
right, because he wouldn't set you up until our friend got there.
Mhm.
Until your chaperone
I was
arrived.
there on time, and the band was there. There was a band, and I didn't get set up. I didn't get the opportunity to set up for 2 hours, and it was like 10 minutes before we were supposed to open.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's
And they don't get in trouble for this bullshit? They don't get reprimanded? Oh, yeah, okay, so that lapse.
Well,
well,
the
the
Yeah.
second time it happened, I did say something to the band that had invited me, and they're like, we're gonna talk to him about it, and I was like, no, I don't want to find out that I complained, but they did complain, and it was much better the next time.
Good.
I was afraid, and I guess I shouldn't have been afraid, but it can absolutely backfire on you.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I don't know. I've always found, calling people out, even if it backfires, it's kind of, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me if I don't.
Yeah, I've been doing that, but that's why I have nothing. There's nothing anybody can take away from me anymore.
You have nothing, so they can't take anything away.
Yeah, I'm the strongest I can ever be, because I have called out people who have been aggressive to me, who have been unfair, and I had everything taken away.
Yeah, but
there's nothing left to take away.
The consolation, though, is Mouse that
so now I
we've built
dream in my bedroom, and
yeah, everything though that we've built Mouse for through Obscura Undead, like from the ground up, we've done across the state, and no one can take that away from us, because we're not located anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
We're like a taco truck.
You're kind of located all around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you guys, you have fans. Every time I do watch one of your streams, there's people I know from all corners of the world pretty much on there. You do a great thing. In a pretty short period of time, too. It's very cool.
It's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a short period of time.
Oh. See, I've only been DJing for 4, so I'm just like, this is half of my career.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what have we not covered, Azy? Do you remember? Because we actually discussed what we wanted to cover.
We did.
The mansplaining was a little bit more upsetting than I expected it to be, because it was a little bit more shitty, honestly.
Oh, it's never gonna be good. You're never gonna hear an instance of mansplaining and be just like, I felt good about that.
Yeah, I've been the only woman on a construction site before with a team that came in to work on networking stuff. So I've had it was bad. It's real bad.
I think, well, I mean, we've talked a lot, negatively about like a lot of the men that we know who are DJs in the scene, but there are also a lot of men in the scene who are very supportive.
Oh, absolutely.
And unfortunately, this does seem to vary city by city. Like, no scene is the same. They're all different. The atmosphere that you find in every city is different. Mm-hmm. But, I know that when Mouse and I go spin in Orlando, like, our male DJ friends, they don't give a shit about our gender. They're just like, I love your tunes. Mm-hmm. And they'll make opportunities for us, and we might not find that, like elsewhere. I mean, this is just a hypothetical because, like, we're talking about our friend Nick, and we love Nick so much. So that's a plug for Uberbahn.
Yep, Nick made all the flyers. Yeah, back here behind me, all the Obscura Undead flyers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, without allies, you can't really get that far. So, I mean, having support from really solid men, it helps a lot. And shout out to Grant from Dark Energy, because he always tries to do the best thing and is very inclusive, and I love him. So
Right.
And he's hilarious.
It sucks in some cases that, you might find that you need to have a man vouch for you in order to be taken seriously. But a big thing that I believe in is, changing the system from within. So then once you get that foot in the door, making space for other, like DJs from, say like marginalized groups, like other women, other people of color, other members of the
Youngins.
LGBT community.
Yeah.
Because that's how you change a scene.
exactly, I think it's super important, especially right now, to focus on making everything inclusive and safe. I've been kind of drilling that into people for a while now about safety, but I think it starts at the promotional level and at the DJ level. So it's very important.
Right. For real. Safe for real.
Safe for real, yeah. Not safe for fake.
No,
Yeah, not safe for here it is on the flyer, but we don't enforce it.
exactly.
So you have to to be able to create a safe space, you have to be brave. You have to, I don't disagree with your zero tolerance at all, because we're generally not dealing with 8-year-olds here. We're dealing with people who have lived a longer life, although things I think should be fairly investigated if possible. I mean, yes, you're looking at somebody, they're groping somebody, and you see it right there. That's an obvious.
Right, that's not
But
hearsay.
sometimes there's right. It's the hearsay that I worry about, because, in the U.S. we live in a cancel culture.
Yeah, we have at my events, and it's a pretty short list of people who are banned for 32 years, really. I mean, very short. But the ones that are banned for good, and for reasons, real reasons. We've had one instance where it was a big, very short-lived, but hullabaloo about, someone who'd been not good as a male to the women in his life. He had a timeout from clubs, and then after hearing all sides of the story and figure, it kind of felt more like this is someone who generally atoned for being not a good partner, and but wasn't predatory. So there's a fine, you have to be careful too, because like you said, there's this cancel culture thing too. So it's tricky. You have to really, I think, get a lot of opinions from people you trust when it's something that could be ambiguous like that. But then there's a lot of cases that it's like clear cut, nope, hit the door.
So what do you do if you have light or little evidence, and this person said this happened and this person says it didn't happen? Because women can abuse men, people of no gender can abuse other people of no gender. It's not gender specific who's going to be abusive to other people. So what do you do in your events when you don't have proof, and even worse, when you know that person's kind of shady and you actually believe it but you don't have proof?
Me, I will always believe a woman what she says, because she has nothing to lose. Honestly, if she doesn't feel safe to come to my party, why would I want someone who makes her feel unsafe there? I don't care about numbers or whatever. I just want people to have fun and be who they are and feel like they can express themselves. Like, I've had women come up to me and say, I don't feel comfortable around this guy. And I understand that completely. I've not done DJ gigs because I don't feel comfortable, because I know abusers come to that party. Safety is number one for me. And I will always believe a woman. As somebody who's been through that myself, I haven't come out about my story because I don't think people will believe me. So that's why I won't say something, because I know how scary it is. And when a woman is brave enough to tell me their story, I'm going to believe them. I'm not going to ask for proof or something.
You're not going to ask, can you show me a police report? Yeah.
Women don't gain very often. I know it happens that people are falsely accused. I know it happens. Right. But women don't generally gain
There's
anything
nothing to
except
gain.
ridicule, fear, and derision, and sometimes more
scary.
violence when they come
Yes.
forward for stuff.
Yes.
Or getting blown off. Best case scenario, getting blown off. Oh, no, that's just blah, blah, blah. And I know that for a fact because I've been blown off by people I didn't expect to blow me off.
I mean, every promoter is going to be different, but as a survivor myself, I have to do how I would want to be treated, and that's how I want to project onto my parties.
Unfortunately, and it's probably the tiniest little percentage of cases, but I know firsthand there have been some women who are vindictive, not just in Chicago, but other things that I know about, who don't want their exes around their clubs, and rather than stay away from them in a space, they just don't want to be there. And that's kind of where, okay, you've got to take a little responsibility, both parties as adults, and stay away from each other, not create like a vigilanteism against somebody just because they have something personal. That's completely different scenario though than someone who is, again, predatory or potentially dangerous or has been, has a track record of being either of those things, for sure. Absolutely. And the safety of people is, your patron should always be number one, always. Uncomfortableness, that's really subjective though too. Again, maybe I'm more hard edged than some people, but you have to have some agency of your own too, and take on, like, okay, I've got a couple ex-husbands that I'm not exactly friends with, we should say, but if I happen to see them at a concert venue, I'd ignore them and stay away from them because I know they're not going to be dangerous to me. Obviously, even if I'm not comfortable with being in the same room with them, I would try and stay away. Again, that is not taking, equating someone who has, an actual possibility of harm coming to them.
Right.
People who would cause harm, no question, absolutely not allowed into the club.
Their ex who hurt their feelings is different than the creepy guy who keeps coming over every single time you go to the bar and standing next to you and fraternizing you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think those are kind of different kinds of uncomfortable, and I think being really familiar with the people who attend your venue, which you can do at home, you can't do it when you're out traveling, but being familiar with the people that attend your regular nights and stuff is very helpful.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, when you're traveling, you're kind of at the mercy of the promoter for some of those kind of nuances and stuff like that. But I'm one of those people personally, again, not a DJ, but I have a much, much greater tendency to believe the person who's saying that they've been abused.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just so many situations that I've been in a party to, heard about, seeing the evidence come out later and stuff like that. It's just experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, being a shithead to your ex. Yeah.
There is a comment in the chat. So how do you have the strength to stand up to people who are very well known / influential in the scene, people who pretty much nobody will stand up to? This is from DJ Slave One, and she also says that she's pretty much the only one who will stand up to like those kind of people because everyone else is too scared of the aftermath. Well, that's kind of the fun thing about being maybe a marginalized group of DJs is that you have a lot less to lose.
Yep.
And also, that's how things change.
And that's how things change.
Otherwise, nothing's ever going to change. So I applaud you for doing that, honestly.
Right. Yeah, and it can be terrifying. It can be terrifying, and not everybody's able to just get right in their face. You might have to do it a different way. But
Well,
I think
also, you can
still...
just avoid the party and just, if people ask, be like, this is why I don't support this party. And you have your own thing going on and just separate yourself, just cut it off. I've done that before. Yeah.
Yeah. That tends to be my strategy is I'm not going to, go be vocal and angry about it, but I will, I have a list of, say, like, people that I won't allow at our parties, and I have a list of bands that I won't play.
Yeah.
I don't publicize that, but it's, you know, it's my rules that I enforce for myself, because that's my moral standard.
Right. I've had people ask me, you know, well, why won't you play this Combi Christ song, for example? And I tell them, you know, there's this, and I've done that with any number of bands that I do not play anymore. And sometimes they're like, what, really? Either I didn't know that, or, well, so what? Can't you separate the music from the band? And like, yeah, that's not how I operate. So
that's not how art works. You need an artist to make art.
Yeah, and there's plenty of artists out there who can play a lot of good music that doesn't depend on the pain and suffering of other people.
Yes.
Well put.
And, yeah, in fact, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Combi Christ, I liked live. I had no idea what they were saying. So it was a little upsetting when I found out, and I was like, great, they were the only ones who had something in my size. So I covered it up with a Then Comes Silence patch.
Yay, Then Comes Silence.
And then I shrank out of it, and now somebody else has the covered up Combi Christ that I sent to a thrift store.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can cover, if you bought their shit and stuff, you can cover it up. You can just, you know, scratch up the record and get rid of it and kind of giggle, melt it down into something else useful. A shoe scrape. Yeah, I tend to boycott. You can say problematic. You know, there's outright racist, there's outright sexist, and then there's problematic where it's ambiguous.
That's a good word.
Yeah. So I boycott all sorts of shit, like boycott businesses, boycott bands, you know, whatever. I'm constantly like, oh, guess I'll live my life without that now, like my hoodie.
Yeah. The list is sadly growing, but there's always more. There's always more that's good though. So.
But it's because right now, I mean, all over the world, but in the U.S. with the Black Lives Matter movement, we're seeing people crawling out of the woodwork, and some of them you're like, well, I didn't think of that. I'm actually seeing people for the first time saying, I just didn't know, and they're starting to get interested in figuring out what white privilege, et cetera, is, and it kind of snowballs. So that we're seeing more people come out, and when they double down, that's when you know. When they start doubling down and they get really defensive about it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be Nazis. It could be, well, fascist is a popular thing right now. Anti-fascist is popular right now. It could be incredibly sexist. It could be all that kind of stuff. But one thing you'll notice is when it's really ambiguous, sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize. But when they double down, that's when I'm like, look at that, boycott time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I just think people being complacent during this time is also saying a lot. Like, I feel like the people at the top of the DJ chain should actually be raising money and posting things and doing everything they can to help. And some DJs just not doing anything. I mean, to me, it says a lot. I just feel like if you have that platform, you should use it for good.
Yeah, and some people who just go and watch the DJs, we donate to all of the DJs that we watch, whether it's for your own income, which is also good for me, or for whatever you're raising money for.
Right.
There are a lot of people, and we share like crazy and donate. You know, it might be $5 here, $10 there, whatever. But I've seen both sides of that, where people are raising money and the people are like, yes, you're telling me where to give it because it's overwhelming right now.
Right.
I appreciate anybody who tips when I'm doing it, because since the clubs have closed, live streaming is our only income. That's it. We're not to be all woe is me, but our financial situation is precarious to say the least. So waiting for clubs to reopen. Once clubs are reopened, hopefully we can start taking up, putting a portion of that cover charges and salary towards organizations. But right now it's kind of like,
Well, I'm hoping that we come back to like a new horizon of the club scene, the goth scene, to where instead of tolerance, it is full on acceptance. I think we're seeing more of it. We're having a chance to think about it more. We're discussing it with the chat. You don't have to worry about, is that person just going to think I'm an idiot because I'm not dressed right today? You know what I mean? You take away the stress from the club. And so I'm seeing a lot of people that get in there, they kibitz, they have a good time, they chat. And I'm seeing a lot of support for the diversity and acceptance because, as I said, Goth is tolerant. Somebody's like, it needs to be acceptance. And that might have been Azy. We were having a discussion last week, maybe? Was that you?
That may have been me, and I think
It
that
could have
was
been
about
Clint.
4 months ago. I think that we have, not 4 months ago, 4 weeks ago. Time.
Time, all I do is work. But yeah, to take it from, we say that we're accepting, but what we're really practicing is tolerance for people that are shitheads, people that are fucking Nazis, people that are predators. And as we tolerate them, that's not acceptance, that's tolerating. But then we're also just tolerating the marginalized groups. So what we need is acceptance of the marginalized groups. And if you fuck up, you're out.
Okay, I think that
As
was
another
me that
friend
said
says,
that.
they're
That
not
was a
really
fun
goth.
discussion.
They're just pretending to be goths so they can do their horrible Nazi shit.
Yeah, and I think that starts with booking more marginalized people and not making a big declaration of it, just literally doing it every week, every month. Just do it because there's plenty of them everywhere, and it doesn't have to be all white dude lineup. It's not hard.
Right, and it doesn't have to be token lineup.
And it doesn't have to be only cute girls dancing.
Yes.
I like boys and trans and everything. I want to see everyone.
I want to see people from the scene on the flyers. I want to see the people who are on the dance floor on the flyers, and I personally want to see them in the percentages that they are people. Whatever percentage is this, I want to see that percentage of flyers that have it. I know that's a dream, a utopian dream, but I want to see everybody. I want to see somebody who's not considered traditionally beautiful or traditionally attractive. Just someone having a good time, because everyone looks good when they're having a good time.
I think this can happen. It just takes, breaking down these rules that the scene has had for decades. I think it can happen. I'm hopeful. And I hope that we can, as promoters and DJs, help with that change. And I think we are starting. It's just a matter of time, honestly.
Well, I'm interested to see, like I said, current events. I'm interested to see the impact when we do go back to the club.
I think it's
because right now
going to be significant. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, I was just thinking that right now we're just trying to keep our clubs surviving. We're just trying to survive with some of that stuff. So when we can come back and thrive with it, I think you're right. You are correct, Azy. I think it will be significant.
Well, we've broken down a lot of the barriers between scenes simply because we had to. So other DJs are looking and seeing what are they doing in Austin? What are they doing in San Francisco? What are they doing in Seattle? What are they doing in Chicago or New York? And seeing that the people in those spaces, a lot of them are raising money for Black Lives Matter causes. A lot of them are raising awareness or trying to, not trying to, but just passively doing their own diverse thing. And they're looking at that and they're like, wow, that works. That is an option. That is an alternative. This is something that we have. I love this. Or thinking, oh shit, if I don't change, I'm gonna get pulled down with the rest of all the people who are getting canceled in there, in their local scenes. So
yeah, I'm
one way or the other.
I don't care if you do think all lives matter, dude. That is actually a political and racist statement right now. That should be the default, but that is not the hill you should want to die on, the semantics of that one.
Right. But I think that the tearing down of these just physical walls between scenes is going to have a significant impact on what clubs look like when we finally are able to open back up.
Let's hope.
I hope so. Yeah.
So we have 3 minutes left, and it looks like we will be ending exactly at 10 unless y'all want to start the Zoom call back up again, but our time frame was 10 o'clock East Coast.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any questions.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want everyone to think that I hate men, because I don't. I just hate a lot of them.
Hate responsibly.
Yeah. But when there's the good man out there, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
a lot of my
there
best
are a
friends
lot
are
of
men.
allies.
Yes.
And there are a lot
and
of people who
I'm
want to tell you
really
that.
happy about them, but then there's the really bad ones that I'm going to be angry about.
Well, hopefully the really bad ones are the ones that start really standing out instead of the good ones standing out. And I think that we're on the precipice of that tide turning. And I think discussions like this are important to keep it going and to keep having these discussions, even if people are like, I'm bored with that. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Watch it again. Let's make it ubiquitous where we're just acceptance.
Right. Well, also thank you guys for doing this stuff. I think it's very helpful and I love it. And thank you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I'm so glad. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Because we have 1 minute and 40 seconds. Thank you for sharing your stories, because some of those stories are they're very unpleasant to hear.
Yeah.
They must have been horrific to experience. Oh my God, I'm so blind. I just don't want to wear my glasses.
So we have 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay.
So Sarah, where can people find you? What are you up to? You got 30 seconds. Go.
Oh, okay. I'm Scary Lady Sarah across all social media platforms. On Twitch this coming Saturday, we have Back to the Grave, which is one of our all goth nights. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. Scary Lady Sarah, Sarah with an H. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Andy, where can we find you? Go.
Syntheside, SYNTHICIDE, no E in the middle. Everyone spells that wrong. NYC on Facebook, whatever. And syntheside.bandcamp.com if you want to check out some cool music.
I gotta buy your new music.
Right.
I will be spinning it.
Cool.
Obscure Undead people, come on, go.
Tomorrow night we have Obscure Undead
It's happening tomorrow.
Go ahead, Mouse.
Obscure Undead virtual club is happening tomorrow. I started off at 7:30 at Twitch TV/Mousechan.
Yes.
MAUSCHAN, because I had to make it to.
So that was twitch.tv/Mousechan. We are going to be starting at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow night we will be starting on Mouse's channel and rating across our 4 DJs for the night, ending with me. Oh, Bruce just posted a link with everything in there. But again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This was a really fun topic to talk about. I hope that you took something away from it that's useful or meaningful, or that you didn't already know. And thank you to everyone who contributed in the chat. We love you very much. We don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we hope to see you all tomorrow night and Thursday. And of course, go check out Sarah and Andy. Okay. Good night. Love you.